Coach, how you doing?
All right, should be good. How you doing?
Good. I'm great. I'm great. Glad. Thank you for your patience. Thank you
Yeah, of course.
for coming in. Hey, you're gonna get your full 30 minutes, so I appreciate it. So, Coach, you want to go ahead and share your screen? You can roll.
Yeah. So I'm going to do here is so today, we're going to talk a little bit about speed training for the offensive line and what that means and the importance of that. And I know that's a little bit different, um, you know, of a topic per se than in a lot of places, but a lot of things that you might hear today. But why do we want to do this? I'm a firm believer in a what, how, why. And why we want to do this is because we all want to win as many games as possible, right? And that's done by having the most ability and the most availability of said ability. Jim Ross from wrestling said, the best ability is reliability. We all want to be reliable, and you want reliable guys that you work with, that you coach with, but also you want reliable players. And I don't know about you, but I've coached at levels that had 17 on the roster all the way up to 100, right? And then all the way back down. And I've coached freshman, middle, in varsity, JV, the whole deal. And currently I'm now working with in a private facility for strength and conditioning, but coached about every position, offense, defense coordinator, head coach, the whole deal. So what, how, why is really important, and having those guys, especially on the offensive line, the same 5, 6, 7 people in your rotation available is so important. So that's how we're, in my mind, the what, how, why of this. The why truly is to be available, and so the how is kind of be the agenda there. And, we'll get moving. So football science, right? The science of football, as we all, pretty much understand it, is, if you look at, you know, uh, Dr. Ray from, was at Alabama and with IMG in Indiana, and then at the Saints now, he did tons and tons of data. And so is Kurt Hester from Tulane on how long the average play is, right? And how many seconds of recovery there are, plus then, seconds of rest between drives. If you don't play both ways, right? And I've been on, obviously, on Ironman teams when you only have 17, 18 guys, and then all the way to where everybody was, on a single side. The average drive is about 6 plays, 7 plays in high school. And so, you're getting about 13 series, but there's so much rest between, right? You're actually getting 6 minutes maybe between drives, depending on how everything goes. And so, do you have to blow people up in order to get them in football shape? Probably not, right? So Charlie Francis, the famous speed coach, was talking about max velocity being gained in under 6 seconds. That's something we're going to kind of consider, and that's basically the football play, right? In under 6 seconds. So Fergus Connolly talks about the 4 coactives of an offensive lineman. I'm not going to go through this too much, but physical preparation. So is the actual football player physically prepared to meet the demand, right? And we would all like to think of, peak power, the ability to identify, use your eyes at all, right? The last coach had said peripheral vision. Yeah, that's huge. A lot of what we do in the weight room when we start working, tandem sprinting and matching is peripheral vision. We don't allow them to look to the side. They have to look straight ahead and use their eye to match the tempo of the other person. Of course, psychological preparation. I call that clarity, confidence, conviction. If you're a wrestling person, you're going to like me because that's from Sting, the wrestler. I stole that from him. So if you like WCW, WWF, you're going to enjoy that. And then technical preparation is obviously, what a lot of, and tactical is what we're going through today in this clinic, right? Tactical being, how to run duo, inside zone, outside zone, pass protection, and technical being kick slide versus drive catch, right? And so that's not the part that I work on at the gym at all. I keep that to you guys. What I do is physical and some psychological preparation. This is just the OODA loop. This came from the Air Force and a pilot, Boyd, and the idea of observe, orient, decide, and act. Observing would be your pre-snap alignments of, okay, are they in an even or an odd? Who's up at the line of scrimmage? Is it a 3 tech or a 1? Post-snap, any movement adjusting. Guys are twisting and stunning. Staying on your path, what kind of be your orient. Deciding what to do, right? I have stuff that is in my repertoire, right? Almost like you said with Bruce Lee, things, how many kicks do you have in your repertoire, right? And then peak power is what we have to realize is that peak power in offensive lineman is met at 0.45 seconds. So an offensive lineman has to get to peak power in 0.45 seconds, typically considered the second step and punch, right? To go through that loop pretty darn quick. And in order to do that, we have to lift fast and we have to move fast and sprint fast, right? And you guys can go through this later. I'm going to put it up. It'll be anybody that's in this thing can obviously have this for free. The do's and don'ts of the offensive line. I'm a firm believer in technique counts, reverse engineer your plays, which we'll do in a second. Thinking about short sprints, right? And true agility, where you have to react and work off of somebody else versus, bag drills and things like that are not specific to what we do. You can go through the KPIs and checklists later. This is just my interpretation. I want peak power, true agility, and strike accuracy as my three big ones. I try to stick everything, core values, KPIs, whatever, to like three things. It's hard to remember more than three things. So exercise selection, again, we stick to the bottom of this pyramid, and I try not to do anything that really looks like football in the weight room, because I know that would have pissed me off as a coach, and I don't really want to be the guy that does that to other people. The platinum rule, treat people how you think they want to be treated, but also you for the golden rule. And so conditioning, this is more of our meat and potatoes. What do we do mostly on the offensive line? I played offensive line. I coached it for over a dozen years, right? What do we mostly do? It's pushing against weight, right? So we hit that first point, 0.45 seconds. We're in there. We're locked in. We're going to drive out. And now it's really about a 5-second fight, right? Whether that's a fight that takes you to the second or third level and downfield, like we've seen some of the clips, or that's a fight that's just right here. You see a lot of that Clemson blocking was kind of the stalemate at the line, and then he just stayed engaged and locked you in, and then the back's cut off of you, right? So if gassers take more than 10 seconds, what's the benefit? Your player's going to be slower, increases injury risk, and it will ruin your form. And I'm going to tell you why in a second, why form matters. To condition your athletes, heavy prowler sled drive for 3 to 7 seconds with a 35-second walk back, recovery. It's not a true rest. It's just recovery. 6 short sprints, the last 3 to 7 seconds. And then contact preparation, right, which is becoming a huge, kind of fad and trend right now. And, in a sense, it kind of should be, right? And so I'm not going to go through the contact prep thing in its entirety, but we will put it on here for a second. We start off with an AirX pad, and they're locked up and fitted on me. And I just have them to kind of use their shoulder to warm it up and try to warm their shoulder up at 3 different levels. So super low, medium, and high. This is more for tackling right here, but you can kind of get the gist. I mean, you guys probably do a lot of the med ball fits and working med balls and locking and driving out. And so that's always, a good thing to do with your offensive linemen. But you can just kind of get an idea of contact preparation stuff and, the different things that go along with that. Exercise selection, why sprinting? So that's kind of our question number one, right? Like, why sprinting? Well, we all want to be strong, right? And no weight room exercise will put 3 to 4 times body weight on a single leg, right? And that's what sprinting does. I mean, if you go out and do it, I did it last night, after teaching an entire school day and then coaching from 4 to 6, I sprinted from 6 to 6:30, and whew, it does take a toll on you, right? And so if I'm 240, that's 720 to 960 on each leg for each step. And you're just not going to get that out of reps in a weight room, right? Injury prevention. We just think about bulletproofing the hamstrings and those max velocities done 1 to 2 times a week for 2 to 3 fully recovered reps. And that full recovery would be to wait a minute for every 10 yards, right? So an offensive lineman, 30s might be good enough. And so they need to wait about 3 minutes between, hit another one, then you're good. Do two twice a week, right? Movement efficiency. We all want guys that can get out on screens, move up to the second level into pull and stuff in our gap schemes and pulls. We want guys right now with how fast these linebackers are and people that are sending guys from everywhere, nickels and whatnot. You want to be able to have guys that can, get into pass protection and do it well, right? And not look sloppy. And so when we have to turn and ride a guy, you used to call no shit block, when you had to open up your hips and ride a guy upfield and scrape, right? And that's, move well, move fast, right? And then linear speed program. I use Dale Basquet's program, which I'm not going to give to you per se, because that would be, not very kosher. But you can see one of the clips here. High knee, short cycle, stride, right? And that cleans up a lot of form and technique. We'll do that in a bridge version during the season. That might be something you do in pre-practice, and you get guys out to run. And we don't think about doing, maybe in the weight room is short. Maybe you only have 50 minutes in your class, or you don't have a class of weightlifting at all. I've been places we didn't have it at all. It's all after school. something I would do, at least once a week is to get into a speed program like Dale Basquet's, and I've linked that up for you. And then to do an abridged version. So if he's got 3 of each exercise, do 1, right? 1 high knee short cycle stride, 1 this, 1 that, and then to get that max velocity sprint out. And you can do that by having guys chase after somebody that's got a 2-3 yard lead. Have them chase after him, and you don't have to break out the free laps and all these gimmicks. I love the free lap, but you don't have to do it. You can just go out and do it, right? And just chase after guys, and competition will be key anyway, right? In what we do in the first place. So dynamic question 2 is why curb sprinting? It's a little closer up that pyramid, away from general preparation. It replicates some sports movements, as we'll see in the clips. Prepares your offensive line when it's time to run in the in-group periods, right? Think about screen drill and periods, combo to second level and gap scheme. And then why change your direction drills? Well, early on when we're not practicing, if you're at a place that restricts practice, right, from November or December all the way through until May or maybe even June, you're going to lose it. Use it or lose it, baby. So you want to use it, and you want to be able to stop and reaccelerate. It's great for hamstrings. It's great for coordination. And it is a lot like how you play. I mean, you're going to sprint. Maybe you're going up to the second levels. You're engaged. You sprint. You want to look good doing it. You're going to re-engage, sprint again, something like that. So you want to be able to do that and do it well. And again, reverse engineering, right? And there's all kinds of data here on reverse engineering for you. Does it apply to sports? Yes. Now we're about to apply it to the offensive line. And Zach Deschamps from TCU is really big into doing that. And you can see Cooper Kupp's route tree and how the different vectors work out for it. And areas of performance, warm-up speed, COD, plyos, agility, power, strength, energy systems, and rehab. So to test some of this stuff that makes it kind of fun, I borrowed this from a few other people and sort of honed it, kind of made it my own, where we add time. If you start dipping in further into these cones that are set on the ground, we're going to time your 10. So you get a couple yards to build into it, and then you're going to sprint and have your 10 timed. And so Grace here is going to sprint, motor down, and since she stopped in that second set of cones, you'd add 0.5 to her sprint, right? If she stops in between the first 2 reds, nothing is added. Anything further than that, you add another second on. And so we start competing in our 10-yard change of direction and ability to slow down, right? And so that's pretty cool just to have a test. As a teacher, I guess I like to have a test for everything we do. And so that's one of the things, right? And another general prep would just be the standard linear weave. You see a wide receiver here running the linear weave. And so those are about 4 to 5 yards apart inside of the other side of the gym. And just really working on not getting too far wide, right? Weaving right in between and staying in those gaps. And then you've got, snake sprints, which get a little wider here. I think this is a girl soccer player. She's getting really, crazy leg there. But good stuff from her there. Phenomenal worker. And so, yeah, as Uncle Roscoe always says in every stadium and every high school town all over the world, block somebody. So how are we going to do it? We got wide pull versus lateral and curve, matching up dart to a roll and accelerate, matching up the double screen to a shuffle back and sprinter or curve, matching middle screen to a zigzag curve, and an inside zone with the RPO bubble tagged onto it to come to balance. And you can see here how they match up, right? So you're seeing IMG Academy, the enemy, the evil empire. I got some footage from them, from a friend. And that's CC, who is now at the University of Miami. I think, heading into spring, he was already starting as a true freshman. He's a massive dude. But you can see how this all matches up. Look at the steps in order from where Olivia here, soccer player, is from where he's going. The crossover step, I let her use her own. It's kind of a choose your own adventure. Use your sports crossover. I don't try to tell these guys how their sport works. So they kind of have to do it on their own. Like master of none, or kind of a philosophy there. And so we're going to see CC here run his wide pull. Let's flame that clip. He didn't touch a sole. Maybe you got a pinky nail on that guy if he forgot to trim earlier this week. Right, so you can see old CC getting out there. That's against St. Francis, so this is like best on best, right? And then now you can kind of see some of these elite soccer players. Same stuff, right? Crossover step, turn, curve, and go. And while you're not, and then there's some youths getting some work in there too. And so going back again in reverse engineering and matching what you see in your plays to what you can do as a strength and conditioning coach. While you're not able to run plays, or you want to get a little bit of extra time in, that's kind of the theory there. So you've got dart, dart versus a rolling acceleration. So rolling back and accelerating, right? That's a high level private school soccer player there on the state championship team here in Raleigh. And, you can see exactly how dart works. Our guy in the pink sleeves is our guy here to watch. So, some reason that one's not running. Uh-oh. What happened here? I'll have to go back and get that thing for you later. But you can see her running the drill, right? So she's going to go down, out, and around, and then work up field, right? And that's important for us. We can see the double screen here. This is from when I was the offensive coordinator, an offensive line coach at Broughton here in Raleigh before my retirement. We scored 30-something points a game back then. Nowadays, not so much. But you can see here, he takes that jab step, works in, starts to come outside. He's going to work a flat path down and then start to turn up field. Also doesn't touch much of a sole, but, can't win them all. And then you can see here with the shuffle back and curve as well. These are all kind of similar there. We can watch that double. Paul steps inside, comes up field. He's got that out pattern. You can see it's a curved sprint, right? And he was recovering from a broken leg. So he's moving pretty good for a guy that, was a little on the overweight side with a broken leg. So how do we attach that to what we're doing in the weight room? You can see here on the first one, shuffle back, work up field in a nice flat pattern. He's going to accelerate out of that. And then you've got Nat, who's going to shuffle back, turn, and run the curve, right? Depending on what angle you think your double screen is going to wind up in. Middle screen, we ran that there at Broughton as well for those couple of years I was there. Our three, obviously, interior linemen are in this screen. Our tackles are wide setting, trying to draw guys kind of inside out, trying to get them to go real wide. Then we're going to throw right up, inside of them, let the tackles come in. And then our three inside guys, obviously, as you can see in the clip there, the screenshot are going to run in. And the zigzag curve kind of works the same way. And so it looks very similar to what we get here out of the clip. As you can see, our linemen kind of working up, zigzagging around, picking guys up, working up field. And then you can see how it works almost the same way. He's got to zigzag up, come up, pick up field. And so again, we're not trying to do exactly what you guys do or I used to do on the practice field, because to me, that's over the line of what I do. I don't do that, right? That's for you guys. What we do is prepare them to go to you and be able to do this stuff on the field. And so here's a little is RPO bubble, simple stuff. Guy takes it to the house. We're a little more focused on the offensive line guys. And it's come to balance. This is an NC Central linebacker who I worked with in the summer before his freshman year, but also as his coach there at the high school level for a couple of years. We can see that inside zone. Looking at our lineman. The center is the guy we want to keep our eyes on. Tall, thin guy. He's now a rower for UNC. I had to do the rowing motion to be able to remember what the word was. Nice little touchdown there, and you can see him here once our camera guy starts having a nervous breakdown. You can see 64 getting upfield and just working, right? So again, that's that come to balance. I'm going to sprint and get out, come to balance, sprint up again. You can see Reg here do that. Yeah, he doesn't come to a full balance. He's just kind of giving me that pitter pat. And this is available for you guys in a full cut up and drill tape, and it'll take you through everything. So you're going to be able to see each one of the general preps. You're going to have dart mixed in there. For some reason it worked there, but it didn't work on the other thing. And all the plays and how they line up to the drill specifically, and even the 10-yard test are all in there. So you have all the access to those things, and the ability really to see that for what you basically need to see it. Now, I wanted some time, if anybody has any questions, to go ahead and ask away about anything. I literally just came from working with a high school wide receiver who's a starting wide receiver at Wake Forest High here, and a Division I quality basketball player and an adult women's rugby player. So, today alone, yesterday I had a JV offensive lineman at Heritage and a national ranked tennis player. So anybody have any questions about any of this stuff, how to use it, how to implement it, just please go ahead and ask away.
Coach right here said, great stuff. Coach, I will ask you a question while guys are trying to come in. What made you want to get into doing strength and conditioning?
Well, it's an interesting question. So, it was one of those things that was just part of what we did, right? Like we did at my house. My dad was a strength coach and a baseball coach and was a firefighter. And it was just a part of our household. My brother is a really high-level baseball player. Obviously played hockey and football and wrestled. And it was kind of a part of what you did. As a coach, it was a really good way to stick around and to be there in the off season when I was in college. I didn't play college football. You want to stick around college, kind of help out. And you sort of, grow it and adapt that way. And you learn a lot more about what's going on. You also learn the players better. And you get to spend more time with them and the other coaches. It's not just in the mass rush of practice, right? And then when I took over at Cornerstone Charter down in Belle Isle, Florida, we were absolutely terrible. There was 8-9 guys in the program when I took it over. It was pretty much dead. We owed $20,000 in debt that, somebody had left. The weight room didn't exist. It was literally empty. We did not have a home field. So it was a real part of the process. And so we did the same stuff we'd always done, same things I'd always done, right? So we did, bigger, faster, stronger. Not there's anything wrong with it. It's just nowadays I wouldn't necessarily use that as my fallback. We ran them to death. We did all the different circuits and ladders and all that stuff, and we ground them up and spit them out, right? When you only have 17 guys, you think that that's the answer in a sense, but you're just leading to more injuries, guys quitting. And I know you don't really want it. There is a slippery slope on guys who would quit because you ran them a little hard, but
yeah,
it is a slippery slope. And sometimes you need people that you may otherwise not need when you have 35 people. Somebody might have been like Sia, but you can't when there's 17. So it just became more and more of a thing where I thought, we're getting better at the X's and O's thing, but we're not going to recruit. So we're going to get whoever shows up. We've got to develop the guys who show up. And we, had a quarterback, and I timed him at a 5.9 in the 40, right? And you're probably thinking like, holy crap, that's slow. And then in 18 months, he ran a 4.9. Well, he went from running for 1.8 yards per carry to like 5.5. And the difference between that is obviously 1st and 10 is being 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, or it's being 2nd and 4 or 5. And so it was a method that Dale Basquette came in. We had gone and changed a lot of our lifting. And then Dale Basquette had come in and brought him in. And man, he just changed everything for me. And that's a great question that just got posted. How much time do you spend teaching form running? Bigger kids don't know how to run. And so Dale had a great point on this. He said, just because you're bigger doesn't mean you can't run well. And he's right. It doesn't take a lot, especially if you use this program. It's literally eyes are up, find a focal point to stare at. So if you have something on the fence that you can maybe hang a cone from it or a laundry loop or something and say, we're going to run at this fence or we're going to run right at the goalpost, right? So maybe you're not going to do it on the track. Maybe you're going to do it on the field. We're going to run directly at the goalpost. Eyes are up, right? We're going to be here. You're going to rub your ribs. Your fingers are going to be like knives. If you're going to rub your ribs, fingers, knives, and your eyes are up, almost everything else is going to come with it. Butt cheek to face cheek. Butt cheek to face cheek, right? So you're not chopping like this. You're rotating at the shoulder. Think about the pin in the shoulder. And pretty much they pick it up. I had a tennis player I had yesterday. Geez, she came in running something awful. Even her tennis coach was concerned. Like her actual skills coach was concerned. Like, this is just bad. And by the end, I'm not going to say she was a 10 at the end. No. But she went from being a 0. I would consider her running a 0. After one session, she was probably in the 4 or 5 range out of 10. That's a lot of improvement, and we only, the running part in the gym that we do is probably about 10, 15 minutes out of the hour. So I don't think it takes that long. A big thing for those guys is distances. Your big guy doesn't need to run 53 to 30 yards or 100 or a 300. That's why they're going to run like crap. If all they're doing is running 20, they're going to spend a lot more time on it. I mean, I'm a bigger person. I'm only 5'9", and 245 pounds, right? I'm not exactly, slim and trim. So for me, it's the same thing. I abridge a lot of Dale down because he finds the middle.
Yeah.
He's approaching the 40-yardish, 35-yard range. You can pare it down for O-line, and then you span it out for running backs and receivers, right? And so if I was to do it, let's say if you're going to – this summer, you're going to have guys in 4 days a week, I would have, a curve day, a day that you work on your actual Indy and stuff like that, of course, which would be your COD day. Because once you're in there in the summer, the COD day can kind of go to the side. That's Indy period. And then 2 linear days. So 2 days where you are focusing on sprint mechanics. But again, you don't have to get in blocks. I would never do that. I wouldn't even start in a down stance. I would just have them up with toe to heel. The leg that's back is the arm that's up, and have them work out of that. And if you follow Dale's, practice and you fit it to what you do, I think that, it literally doesn't take much time. Again, in the gym, we abridge it. In the pre-practice, I would abridge it. It would probably take at most 12 minutes. I'd say under 15. So it isn't taxing. And again, it's fingers like knives, eyes up, fingers like knives, rub ribs. Eyes up, fingers like knives, rub ribs. Okay, butt cheek, face cheek, butt cheek, face cheek. You can say 4 things and they do exactly how it is. And the funny part is everybody you remember that commercial where the dad is throwing the baseball and the kid throws it real weird. Then you see the dad like, good job, son. The dad throws it really strange, almost looks like Tim Wakefield. Hopefully that's not how I run, and then everybody watches exactly how I do it. But a lot of the guys and girls that you see come through run exactly the same way because I've taught them Dale's method, and everybody in that program runs almost identically the same way. So you can always see in a tape who didn't go with me and who's been with me based on how they run. They almost all run the exact same way.
There's another one, Coach.
Sammy T, former player of mine who's been through the tortures of knowing me for a long time. All the agony of that. There's sadists and masochists in every business. We know which one he is. Coach, how do you incorporate speed training at programs where there is no emphasis? Wow, that's a great question, too. When I got to Broughton, there was no emphasis on speed training at all. It was gassers and conditioning, and we have to be 4 quarters strong. And the funny thing was, by the 4th quarter, they were down 49-0 in almost every game they played. They had been 2-9 consecutive years and 1-10 the 3 years prior to that in a row. So they hadn't won very many games. And it was like, well, you're scoring with your varsity number 1 offense against somebody's like JV throw-in, third teamers. Well, of course you scored in the 4th quarter. All their worst players were in, and the running clock is going. The game's short. It's not because you ran 100 300s in the summer. It's because they were putting their worst players in against your best. So I just tried to push it to, what are you going to do when the talent isn't there? The first year I was there, we were very talented college football players, right? The second year we didn't. We had kids who went to college to, hang out and be normal college students, or to be on the crew team and not on the dang football team, right? So how do you do that? How do you make those guys win 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games? And that was the gap question, right? When you look at the science, being a nerd, it's easier for me, I guess, to approach science. But when you look at the science, it just proves its point. If you want to run stadiums, time them. Mm-hmm. If they aren't within the 3 to 7 second range of going up and 35-second recovery, you're not training for football. Should you go a little bit under and a little bit over? Sure. And when we do stuff like curve sprinting and COD, it's not a 3-minute wait. You turn around, walk back, get in the line, and go again, right? Like that stuff is a 30-second wait. I usually think curve sprinting would be about 45 seconds between each one, and COD is about 30 to 35. But the linear sprint, so Dale's drills are just walk back and go again. So you might wait 1 minute for 30 yards. But when you run a max velocity sprint with everything you got, so a 20 or 40 or 60, that has to have the time period. So science is one way. If people, the thing is there are people that you could never convince of anything, and you're probably just at a loss and you want to change jobs. Because if you can never convince them and they keep losing and people keep getting injured, that's the number one thing, is do no harm, right? And if people keep getting injured, there's nothing you're probably going to convince them if they don't see injuries and losses and think maybe it's me. And that's where at CCA, where I thought it's my fault. So now how do I fix it? And Dale Basquette was the idea to fix it.
Awesome. Well, Coach, you literally just that's right there at 30 minutes. You can keep talking if you want to, because we're at lunch. So guys are going to be coming in and going. I'm rolling right through lunch. So, but otherwise, I'm just going to keep these guys entertained, and I'm just kind of hitting up some guys that are asking me questions. But guys, hit up Coach. Any questions? He's got his socials right there, his business name and all that stuff. Hit him up and pick his brain. He's coming on here. He's giving you free game, as the kids say. So come on and pick his brain, because this is an area that I'm not well versed in. So that's why I wanted to have a strength guy come on, especially talk specifically with offensive line play. So, Coach, I appreciate that.
Of course, man. I appreciate you having me on.